The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
3, 2, 1, you're live.
Hello and good evening, everybody. My name is Mel V, coming to you live from Conscious Consumer Network headquarters here somewhere in the Netherlands. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Carmen Boulter to our network tonight. So, but before I go over to Dr. Carmen Boulter, I want to introduce her properly with a proper introduction to those people who may not know exactly the amazing person that Dr. Carmen is. And I just had the absolute privilege of getting to know her for myself personally over the last few days. And wow, what an interesting lady with an amazing platform that she's bringing to Conscious Consumer Network. Dr. Carmen Boulter is actually the director, producer, and writer of The Pyramid Code, an epic 5-episode documentary series that is aired on national TV in 38 countries and is on Netflix in 7 countries. Carmen is a retired professor from the Graduate Division of Educational Research at the University of Calgary. She taught at, I can't say this, it's Kuo Technology University in Taiwan for 4 years. She was a founder and director of the Women's Therapy and Research Center in Calgary in Canada. And Carmen has been involved with all aspects of the vision and development of interactiveyou.com, an online learning and social action network. She has just published a new edition of her groundbreaking book, Angels and Archetypes, an evolutionary map of the feminine consciousness, with an original set of angels and archetypes cards and runes. I know my friends are already rubbing their hands together for this one. And of course, she's still working on the exciting new documentary series called The New Atlantis. Welcome, Dr. Carmen. So good to have you with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, it's great to have you with us. And I must just say, when we started climbing into, and I spent quite a bit of time going through interactiveyou.com, learning about how you have put these modules of education format together and just how it's based on such a plethora of back knowledge and history, which is in a way contributing to our deprogramming and re-education. It's such an amazing spectrum of work. So I guess I really want to find out a little bit more how you came to be on this particular journey, doing this particular thing.
Well, it's been a long time coming, and I've had an issue with people not doing research properly and not knowing how to reference and write in a publishable way. And I see that the school system has damaged most people, and it doesn't take much to hurt our self-esteem, and the whole system is set up in a way that just doesn't work. And so I started making video tutorials to teach my students when I was working at Tsinghua Technology University in Taiwan. And I developed a platform there of culturally inclusive, cross-disciplinary, multimedia, interactive online curriculum. And so those are the buzzwords that go with this. So I started teaching, even though I was teaching in the classroom, I had everything online already. And so the students would see in the class what was on the website that they would see at home. And so every time that they had an issue with a particular grammatical point, because I was teaching Chinese students in English, and then they would go, I would make a video tutorial or an animation to show them how it worked. And then it was immediacy of feedback. So instead of waiting a week for the teacher to correct the worksheet, everything was happening immediately. And so I really developed this through 3 Ministry of Education International Academic Cooperation grants from the government of Taiwan. And so they supported me to develop these materials. And then I was hired by the University of Calgary in the Graduate Division of Educational Research to put their whole Masters of Education in Teaching English as a Second Language online. And then I continued, and I was teaching graduate students quantitative research methods, and all of this came together. So all my work, I've been teaching online for 15 years now. And so that's where it all started.
That's amazing. And it's funny because your work and research really seems to overlap in such a large way with the areas of interest that funny enough that I've gone into as a research person, and then created a platform that's kind of really where we want to be going in terms of what you're doing. I feel there's so much synergy and so much correspondence and parallels between our outlooks, our attitudes, and also our interests, particularly in mythology. And I've started looking at your Feminine Archetypes book, which I hadn't actually had a chance to read before. And I'm going, why have I not read this before? Because it all seems so much in alignment with where things seem to be going. Knowing the truth about our past, knowing about the archetypes and the evolution of consciousness, and also trying to develop educational models that are not of the old paradigm. Amazing that they both kind of sit right next to each other, don't they?
Yeah, so I started studying alternative education in 1973, and I did my master's in educational psychology, which trained me to be a psychologist. And then my PhD essentially was educational technology as it applies to computational linguistics. So it sounds like it's all over the map, but really, I think at heart, I'm a psychologist. And so the whole understanding of mythology and archetypes and how that works in the Jungian sense has been a real interest. But then how do we teach that? How do we impart that? And so consciousness is should be the highest value instead of profit. And that's the last line in the pyramid code. How would our world change if consciousness was the highest value instead of profit? And so it all fits together. And so I've been an avid researcher for a long time. And it sounds like everything is kind of in different pieces, but the Women's Therapy and Research Center, I was mostly dealing with anorexics and bulimics. And what I realized is that it was systemic family therapy that was going to help them in the larger sociocultural context. And so the idea of feminine consciousness and how the patriarchy has denigrated it, and it needs to have a resurgence, because we're going to come to see the last 5,000 years as the patriarchal hiccup, as a failed experiment. So, okay, when I was director of the Women's Therapy and Research Center, the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology wanted to send me 2 full-time research assistants. And they said, okay, these 2 students will be there for 9 months and they can research anything you want. So be sure you pick the right question. Okay. And so I really thought long and hard, if I could delve through, the deep records and archives of everything, what's the question? And my question was, what happened that when we had matriarchy that gave way to patriarchy? How did the patriarchy even get started? And what did they do? And what was the mechanism? And what was interesting is that the research assistants were able to find references to certain journals, but they couldn't find the journals anywhere at any university, that they had access to. So then I had to research, where were the feminist journals? And they're actually at Concordia University in Montreal is the Simone de Beauvoir Institute Library. And Simone de Beauvoir wrote The Second Sex early on. And I'm sure you studied, the feminist literature. And so this was a very small library, but it was floor to ceiling books and journals. And I spent a whole summer. I drove across Canada and put my son in a horseback riding camp and spent the entire summer researching in this library. And I found all kinds of interesting things in there, including a map of Knossos in Crete. Well, I'd been there and they said, this is the palace of King Minos. And I'm like, King Minos? I had this terrible reaction to that. I'm like, King? What do you mean? And then something pulled me out of the museum. I was looking at this pin, this little safety pin. Well, look, it was how they worked with style. Because before they had togas and they were weaving just in rectangles. And by inventing these pins, it gave them a way to have different styles with these rectangular shapes. And as I looked into this museum case, I felt myself tumbling down through time, that somebody who had lived there before actually had and touched this pin. And something overcame me. And I was dragged outside, and I said to the people I was with, I'll be back. And I went running up this path and turned around and had a beautiful view of the site. But there was the site of Knossos, the palace of Knossos, but there was nothing anywhere. There was nothing there. So I thought, well, this is important. Something major is happening here. And so I made myself a mental note that I would not give up until I found out what this place was and why I was taken there. Because even though there was nothing there at the moment, I was pretty sure there had been something there before. So in the depths of the research of that summer, I photocopied things that, stretched my arms out like pages and pages and pages, like the people who were running the library. What are you doing? But this was all the precursor for the book. And so sitting over coffee, I was deep into this article on Knossos, and I found a map. And it had been the sacred grove of oak trees. And the priestesses used to do rituals naked. And that's where it was. And I was dragged up there. It took 10 years before I found that map.
Wow. Okay, so basically you found a map, and was this a past life experience you were recording, actually being part of this actual, perhaps this ritual?
I'm certain. I'm certain of that. And so essentially that's how much of my research has developed, that the hypothesis comes from past life recall. And then I go into the field and try to see if I can find what it used to look like, or something that reminds me of it. And that's why I was so indignant when they said it's the Palace of King Minos. And I was like, this was 1977, way back when. And I remember feeling this indignation. King? Why would you think it's a king? And the same thing happened to me in Egypt when I was there on my own. And I was overhearing a tour guide say that this is a statue of Ramses. I'm like, Ramses? It's not Ramses. And I'm like, who's talking to me? How do I know this? Right? And so I've had lots and lots and lots of that go on.
So, okay, here's a bit of a paradox, because, it's something, my research has been guided by a similar process, which is interesting. Now, how do you reconcile that with the academic mind, who perhaps doesn't understand, or the concept of reincarnation is not really programmed into their education? Because you do find that there is a little bit of a schism. If you were to say, okay, so I've had this vision from a past life, and I'm going to follow through it on research, do you find the academic world perhaps doesn't take that seriously?
Well, that's why it turned into my own book. I've got 12 years post-secondary education in academia, after the 12 years of high school and grade school. And so I think that we understand that we can behave differently in front of our friends than in front of our parents, perhaps, than in front of our boss. I think that we know what we can get away with. I know what I can get away with and what I can't. And so I played the game their way. But then when it was time to do my own work, I was able to do it my way. So that's kind of how it came from, where it came from. But in terms of writing a book, you need references, you need to do it properly. And then we can insert our own personal ideas into it. So the truth is that, I was going to do my PhD in archaeology, and then I realized you can't change the set story. So I used the cameras and the equipment that I got from the MOE grants, the Ministry of Education grants in Taiwan, to then start filming the Pyramid Code. And I did a summer of research in archaeology at Cairo University in the Faculty of Archaeology in the Rare Books Library. So I've done the academic work, and then I've added this. So, but the thing is that if you look at some of the courses in esoteric arts and in the spiritual activism, you'll see courses on past life recall, astrology, facing your embracing your shadow, finding your soul's purpose, because essentially we need to be connected to ourselves, and the school system doesn't allow that. But if you think about past life recall, it's possible to do scientific research on something that's the paranormal. There's just rules for how you do the research. And so, there's studies that have been done on little children, for example, who go to a place for the first time and they know all the street names. Or they look at a picture and they say, that man's name was this and his wife was this and they lived at this address. And then they go into the archives and find out that, yes, that child knew. Or, you know, there's all kinds of things that are quite astonishing. So if you start keeping track of all of them, and there's ways to do research, sincere research methodology. And so now we have more equipment. We have things that can measure subtle energy fields that have been developed in Russia over a long period of time. So Dr. Konstantin Korokov developed it's electrophotonic imaging. And so we can measure consciousness fields, literally. We can measure the effect that a sacred site has on a person by doing a pretest and then I took people into the Great Pyramid, into the King's Chamber, and put them in the sarcophagus for 2 minutes, and then measured their energy field after, and then measured it a third time when we got back to the hotel, and then had hundreds of readings and was able to do a quantitative study to show how the statistical analysis can show trends in high correlation of what's actually going on. So in that study, I had realized that I was getting more psychic the more time I spent inside the Sphinx and inside the pyramid. So I wondered if there was some kind of way to measure first of all, what's psychicness and what could you do to measure it? And so this device is electrophotonic imaging, allows you to look at the alignment of someone's chakras and the volume of area of their energy field, and then to correlate what was going on. Now, there's a concept called synesthesia, which is cross-sensory perception. And that's hearing a picture and seeing music, for example. And so it's all cross-sensory. And so in the pyramid code, Hakim talked about 360 senses, and we've been dumbed down to 5. So if you can imagine somebody standing inside a sphere and having awareness all the way, like an owl turning its head all the way around. But I think about the little crosshairs of the sphere. Imagine a globe with the longitude and latitude, that all of the cross places are where the psychicness comes in. So when the hair stands up on your arm, you get a feeling in your gut, little goosebumps. You're getting a positive response to something. So more is going on, like a gut feeling, or a sense of dread would be the opposite. No. And so how can we develop more connections? And so what ended up happening as a result of doing this longitudinal study, so I conducted it in 2010, and then again the same study with different people in 2012, is what we could see with high probability that it didn't happen by accident, less than 1 in 1,000 chances it happened by accident, that the chakras became entrained. So all the different chakras are speaking to one another. Well, that's how we know. And as Hakim says in the Pyramid Code, knowing is a very deep power.
Impressive. But, I think this is what has been missing for so long is this sort of merging of understanding of true, and I'm not talking New Age, I'm talking true spiritual value with scientific and academia. And the two seem to have been relegated and separated. But one of the things that I really enjoy about what you're doing is a sort of holistic education model, bringing it all together.
But that's the point. Matriarchal values are connection to the earth, leaving more for the children. What's unseen begins to be understood. It's timeless. It's symbolic. All of the mysticism, mythology, spirituality. Patriarchy, it's reading, writing, arithmetic. If you can't see it, it's not there. Disconnect, compartmentalize, power over instead of empowerment. Don't care about the earth. Don't care about people. Lop off the sacred feminine. Take the women out of the Bible. And that's what is the cause of all the fundamental cause of every problem we've got comes from patriarchy, from disconnection, from profit instead of consciousness, all of that. So holistic, and it's not cross-disciplinary. Social anthropology doesn't speak to cultural anthropology. Geology doesn't speak to archaeology. We need all of that to put the secrets of our past together. And then, reincarnation was illegal. We're only 6,000 years old. And all of it has been this huge manipulation so that we won't figure out what we're doing here and how to live well. So pretty much everything they have installed, including square houses instead of round, you know, and all of the different electronic pollution and chemtrails, all that, that's all the work of patriarchy so that we won't figure out what's going on. And so the holistic view, the cross-disciplinary multimedia approach is the only way that we're actually going to learn. Now, with academia, it's a test-driven education system, the banking system of education, I say, banking model. You deposit the information into the student, they give it back. The one right answer model. So the teacher has the answer, the right answer. It's not about knowing, it's not about learning, it's not about making anything. It's about figuring out what the teacher wants and giving it to them on a test. But the other thing, it's kind of like the Olympics, only one person wins. So the person who comes first gets the prize, and everybody else is somehow failing, not as good, inferior. And so it doesn't work at all, right? And so this idea, what we do is critique Shakespeare, deconstruct something. But in interactive view, it's social constructivism. Why do you have to do everything yourself? Why can't you get together with somebody and collaborate and make things? So you do a study, you can make your own video, you can, you know, write a book, and you're creating something. Okay, so that's all part and parcel of how we're working. So basically, I've taken all these principles and woven them together in an online learning platform. Now, people are happy to give $50,000 or $100,000 to an institution to sit there bored stiff and regurgitate textbooks, and at the end not get a career. And I've always thought, would you rather see a certificate of somebody who's built who's done a website building course, or the website they built, right? Would you rather see somebody's electronic portfolio of all these things they've made and all these connections they've made with full theoretical framework and relevant research, literature review, self-reflection, collaboration, and then social action, right? Or just have a degree that you can't use in one thing. So as life becomes more complicated, we need to have these tools to pull things together. But everybody, if you're not waiting for a job, the job that's going to give you $12 an hour, $18 an hour, so that the CEO can get all the money, then how do you build a website, an e-commerce website? How do you connect with social networking? All of these things that we're teaching in Interactive View are things that people really need. But they take one look at the site, a lot of people, and they go, oh, I don't know how to do any of that. And so it's just really been interesting to see how few people, actually want to engage in this kind of learning. Now, maybe we'll find more here, but people have systemic distress, financial challenges, their parents are sick, they got Alzheimer's, like all these effects that are coming from toxic food and fluoride in the water and all that. And the way that we're being electronically controlled, and cell phones, television, all that propaganda has completely worked. It's, I think that what you're doing here, of trying to connect the people who really want to learn in a different way, that or people who never finished their dissertation and because they couldn't get any support from their supervisors, all of this becomes totally relevant in terms of moving forward. We need a model for an empowered humanity. Like, as the system is collapsing, what's going to replace it? What are the values? What's the value system that will ensure that we're here taking care of each other and leaving more for the kids, not a broken world?
Oh, beautiful. This is it. This is exactly why we've created this network, is so that we can empower and educate people so that they can make decisions based upon real information, not just the propaganda that's been spewed out from education and mainstream media and various sources. But I agree with you so much on the fact that people are so distracted by the auxiliary things that this whole self-directed learning thing, for me, it's almost like a spiritual calling. If you really have to want to deconstruct, deconfuse yourself, and then relearn, re-educate yourself, and it's a totally self-educated, self-driven thing, and it's almost like it's a spiritual calling or a spiritual process. There are a lot of people who I've bought the stuff to, and it's completely wasted on them. So it's a paradox, really, what you're saying. You're surprised it's not more people. And yeah, it would be great if everybody was wanting to move on and learn new things. But in a way, I also feel it is a rite of passage for people to come to this point where they want to know more and they want to integrate into a holistic structure.
Well, sure, you can't make anybody learn or do things or be creative, but we've had our critical thinking skills just knocked right out of us. Schools are, built in the same style as jails. There's, you can't walk down the hall. You get checked for metal detectors. You have to wait for the bell to ring. Like, I think that school is preparing people for jail, not for life. And so there's so much wrong with the system. And but the thing is that if people aren't connected to their soul's purpose, I think that there's a real malaise. I think that they just, what's the point if you're not contributing to the whole, if you're not giving something of yourself, then you're consuming. And the other thing is that our society has turned us into spectators, where we watch, we feel ineffective, and we don't really, participate in a way. Like, you get through the day. You don't have, your house in order so that you can then be creative. So people are, wondering what they're going to have for lunch and what time they're going to yoga, but, they don't keep their houses all up to date and clean and clear so that they can then sit and write a chapter of a book. It's like we've mixed up all our values, and consumerism is based on public relations, which, interestingly, Freud's nephew, Berets, coined the phrase public relations, and the idea, and they were using psychology, and the idea was you tell somebody something, and then you tell them the opposite, and then you tell them a third thing, and none of them add up, and then here comes, you sell a product. So TV is about cognitive dissonance. If you watch CNN for 5 minutes, you'll hear contradictory stories. If you read an article, they're contradicting themselves, and here comes the advertising for the product, right? That's a coined phrase that has really done a lot of damage to us. And the other one is conspiracy theory. Now, let's break that down, because if you're doing research, if you're going to have a theory, like Krashen has a theory of, it's called N+1, which is you join with students and you just give them a little bit more than what they already know. And he developed this theory of language learning. But he had to publish over a period of 10 years before he gets to have his own theory. Okay. So a theoretical framework is a very, very powerful way of putting scaffolding around something so that you can understand at depth, right? And so to say somebody's a conspiracy theorist in a split second, it doesn't even make sense. But that's what the bucket that they use to throw anybody in if they disagree with what TV says, what the media says, what the news says. If you disagree, you're a conspiracy theorist. But that's just made up words. Like, it's not how it works out there. But those public relations and conspiracy theory are two constructs that have practically destroyed us.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say to people, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, but then I'll call you a coincidence theorist. Because, there's just too much going on for us to sort of look the other way. And I don't know. I'm not the type of person who can be told something is blue when it's actually pink. And then that comes down again to relativism and perception. But there's still, to me, the whole point of within truth, there is absolute. And then, of course, there's what is relative. But there is an absolute. There is a point of where this is wrong and hurtful for people. It doesn't benefit us. And there's a point of we've got to do something about it. We've got to somehow find a way to make that better, whatever that is, whether it's get up and do something, create a network, put out educational information. And it is a diametric schism that I observe.
We're in a crisis of values. And so what we've got now is blood from death. We think we only live once. We're showing violence, people bullying each other. We glamorize crime. There's a two-level system. It's not a justice system. It's an injustice system. The law bends to those who use it. Corporations benefit from lawyers. Little people don't. Like, every single thing that's wrong is stemmed from the values or lack of values that the patriarchy has. And so truth is an option. Stealing, lying, cheating, no problem for them. And so it's like a trickle down from the American foreign policy in some way of find a boogeyman, find an enemy, get together, throw mud at the enemy and pat yourselves on the back for getting them. You know, it's like, and that's how people are behaving nowadays. So just the other day, Dr. Jim Willey made a comment, and I think this is extremely powerful and not something that we typically think about. The Stockholm syndrome. Remember Patty Hearst, and that I guess happened the first time in Stockholm, where people who were being tortured or imprisoned or started to have feelings for their kidnappers, and so the people who are actually abusing them, they tried to find a way to include them and like them, love them. Well, Dr. Jim Willey was talking about how we now have a collective Stockholm syndrome. Many people think, oh, the government would never hurt us. If they say that Wi-Fi is safe, it's safe. They would never take our money, and so we're like in love with the government, thinking the government's going to save us when they're the ones that are, hurting us, damaging us. So I'm just telling this guy that I'm in a call. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I should make myself unavailable. Do not disturb. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So it's really, really serious, but people don't unpack anything. They don't think it through. They just blindly believe. And the thing too is that, even Hitler said it, the bigger the lie, the more people believe it. And so we've lost our ability to discern, to connect with ourselves. And if you feel a sense of dread or contraction, it's probably wrong. And if you feel a sense of openness and joy, it likely is right. And that's one of the things that the Pyramid Code has done for people. Because I made it independently, people just feel that there's truth to it. They feel good when they watch it. And so, but most everything else, like you watch something on Atlantis or whatever, and made with ordinary minds, if you will, and I feel sick and stirred up and mixed up at the end of watching that stuff, because there's subtle ways that they're using patriarchal propaganda to disconnect. So we need on every level to be reconnected to ourselves and to each other and to the planet. And so everything they do is about pitting people against each other, women against men, blacks against whites. It's all about Muslim demonization of all things Middle Eastern. Repeat. And so people don't know what to think anymore. And there's actual truth to mind control, right? And so smart meters and all these different electronics that we've got around us is just scrambling people's minds. Video games is how they train people to use drones to kill people, because you just drop bombs on things and you're doing it with video games. So everything is about fear and power over and blood from death. Now, matriarchy is blood from life. And people think, well, matriarchy, if it goes to matriarchy, then the women are going to drag the men around, and have, that's not the same thing. And the Egyptians and the Atlanteans insisted on a balance between the masculine and the feminine, right? And so that's not the same thing. That balance is not the same thing as power over and stealing and cheating. Sorry, not the same thing. So we need to understand this, but most people don't even think about it and couldn't explain that. So somehow, I've taken it upon myself to create a platform in a way that people can step by step reawaken to their own passion and their own empowerment.
That's wonderful. I was wondering if you'd perhaps like to take us through your website and just expand a few of the modules on a share screen to us.
Okay. So is it going to ask me what screen to share?
That's the one. Yeah, just pick the one you want.
Okay, so I'll pick this and share screen and make it bigger. Okay, you see it? Can you see it and hear me?
No, I can't see the share screen.
Okay, so maybe I'll come back to the other side. Can you see it now?
Nope. Have you hit the green share screen at the bottom of the screen?
Yes.
And you've selected your page?
Yes.
No, it hasn't come up.
Share, optimize full screen video clip. Share computer sound. Pick this screen. There we go. Now it's turning green. And it needs
to
allow it. All right, how are you doing now?
Yeah, now it's come through.
Okay. All right, so this is Interactive U, Interactive dash the letter U, Online Learning and Social Action Network. We have 9 faculties, I call them domains, and you can see the little buzz here for business and e-commerce, work for yourself, build e-commerce websites to generate multiple streams of income. Film and multimedia production, create original videos and multimedia presentations to express your vision. Ancient knowledge and new futures, discover secrets from the ancient past. Just going to back that up for a sec. Innovative designs and alternatives for the future. Ecotourism, uncover your sense of adventure through real and virtual excursions around the world. Esoteric arts, rediscover and reconnect with esoteric wisdom and alternative views and perspectives. And spiritual activism, embrace your true self, build new capacities, and redefine your soul's purpose. And then research and publication, develop research and writing skills to express, publish, and contribute your ideas. Educational psychology, explore a new paradigm for constructive, interactive, adult and child learning. And language and communication, gain confidence and skills in communication and proficiency in language teaching and learning. And then back to business and e-commerce. So there's 9 faculties, there's 31 courses in the whole system. And so it all starts with new paradigm in education. And so there's programs. Now, the difference between a program and a faculty is we're offering you 5 different courses and mentoring so that you can put things together. And of course, everything's based on building something. And so there's a program called Teach and Learn English. So learn to teach English. Consciousness science, which is how would you measure or do a study on past lives or consciousness. Educational media, how do you make multimedia tools for your students? Interactive school for kids. I've actually got students who are being homeschooled, world schooled, or unschooled in the program. So then there's my book. So you write your own book. My business. So you put together an e-commerce website and build a business with all the tools that go with it. My video. How can you start, speaking in terms of, visuals and, the eye of the filmmaker, that sort of thing. Shooting at it on the go. My research, full-fledged research projects. How can you measure something? School is cool for people who are just coming back to school and were damaged by the system. And Secrets of the Ancients, which is, of course, my real passion. So, what did the ancients know and how does it all work? So people can involve themselves in one program. We can custom make programs for you. I can go into here, I'll log in and show you one of the courses. So if you come here for the first time, you register and create a new account, then we can start talking to you about programs. It doesn't mean that you're enrolling in anything. So now I'm logged in and I can go to programs. So let's just pick my video. So in the my video program, for example, okay, so would you like to develop the skills to be able to produce an effective informational or promotional video? The My Video programs include core courses that cover planning and pre-production, creating your narrative, adding visual effects, performing professional looking edits, and adding titles, music, and sound effects. Explore ways to post or distribute your video to your audience. So then you'll see that there's 5 courses. So communication, vision, and mission, filmmaking on the go, digital animation basics, the eye of the filmmaker, and marketing your business, which means marketing your film. But within this, so these are designed to be about 6 months, but sometimes people don't finish in time. And so they can renew the program. And so, yeah, so each of these programs has where am I going to go next? My research, let's go there. So here comes the My Research program. Did you want to conduct an original study investigating a topic of your choice and then publish your results? The My Research program supports you to conduct a credible, valid, original, publishable research project. You may think that only a select few have the skills or education to do original research. At Interactive U, we take the mystery out of statistical analysis and make research with large or small groups a logical, sequential, achievable process. We offer the invaluable support to design, complete, and publish your unique study. So then you do your passion in words, which is the basic writing program, qualitative research, quantitative research, and communication, vision, and mission. But in this course, instead of the 5th course, we do consultation sessions that show people how to develop their individual research methodology and individual statistical analysis report, because that's the tough part. But actually, I've got a young girl in Interactive U right now who's 14, who has done a literature review. She's on her 3rd draft now that's of the level of a PhD dissertation, and she's handed in a 62-page paper with 6 pages of research, and she's 14. And so mostly people aren't able to do this sort of thing because they're not given the information they need. I call it academic torture, where you're paying all this money for your tuition and your supervisor won't even call you back. They won't give you a book. They won't tell you anything about how to do it. And so it goes on like that. Perhaps I'll give you a chance to ask some questions and come in. Mel, you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, just unmuting. Yes, I do. Very impressive, Dr. Carmen. This, to me, comes across like it's, when we've been trying to look at how we go about creating schools that are unschooling, it's kind of like trying to create a new paradigm without stepping on the boundaries of the old paradigm. And it's such a challenge. But this is absolutely bang on in terms of the context of course material that is necessary for people to educate themselves for the world we're trying to create. I'm absolutely blown away. It's phenomenal. This is just absolutely, I'm sorry, I'm having a look through some of this here. This is absolutely such an intensive course, and so much planning and thought and research has gone into this. Is like a lifetime of putting this together. It's phenomenal. It's just so complete. I just can't wait to start tucking into the material myself.
Okay, so what I'm big on is parallel structure. So that everything we're doing, we're all using the same tools. It's always the same academic writing format. You start out, you don't know how to do it, but nothing changes. Once you figure it out, you can keep doing it. And so each of the faculties have their own video. I'll just play this little video. Which shows you the courses in the faculty. And so the courses within this faculty are listed here. Eco-social, so you saw it. The new paradigm in education, eco-social action, what are you going to do once you figure all this out? Psychology of adult learning, and educational alternatives for your child. And so if we look, click on the course, you'll see every single course has the same. So now we're in the system, now we're in the course. There's various lessons, there's live sessions. But each, we have news and announcements, discussion board, you can chat to each other. Each of the courses has its own icon, which is a mind map. So the new paradigm in education, what we're doing, theoretical framework here. They all start with theoretical framework. Where are we coming from? So you can see here, a constructivist approach to online teaching and learning, developing a theoretical framework, interactive constructivism in education, the use of constructive approach in higher education. So my theory notes, everybody gets their own forum to put notes as they are reading the material. They can extract the reference. They can say why this is important to them. You write notes so that you keep track of everything that you're reading and learning, and you give an opinion. So the next section in every course is relevant research. So this is real live research that people have done studies on. If you have a constructivist teaching approach, if you don't, learning through reflective writing, and so it goes on. Collaborative educational leadership, face-to-face versus online discussions. And so, some of this is my research. Some of these are my papers. And then you have your research notes. And then each course has 3 interactive processes, 1, 2, and 3. First one is always self-reflection. The second one's always collaboration. And the third one's always social action. Okay. And we're always looking for multimedia. So you do a survey on your educational experience. And then there's a place that you can write your reflections. There's always going to be material that you then reflect upon. Okay. And then you go to the discussion board and write a summary of your reflections. But once you post your reflections, then you can see other people's reflections. And so you read other people's postings about this same material. The second interactive process is always collaboration. So find somebody in the class that's you kind of you have a feeling that you understand them, or they have the same similar value system. So IP1. So from reading the summaries of reflections on the discussion board for IP1, interactive process 1, identify specific issues that you want to explore further. Read your peers' postings and notice if someone shares your interests. Consider collaborating to create a presentation based on your selected topic. Use the chat room above to interact and plan your project, and your presentations are constructive and can take the form of a PowerPoint, a Prezi, a literature review, research article, or a short video. And then you post your presentation. And then the third part is, after everyone's made something, what are you going to do with it? And so somehow you're going to create a collaborative, bigger project. And so for things like aromatherapy, everybody could make a different recipe for headaches, for pain, for whatever, and compile it into a book and take it to an old folks home, right? So then we end up with a multimedia social action gallery. So over time, as people build more and more of this, then they're making their own electronic portfolio. They can carry projects across courses, and then they actually have something to show for it. And so if you look at any of the courses, you'll see the parallel structure. So theoretical framework, here's the dance. Relevant research, interactive process 1, self-reflection, interactive process 2, collaboration, 3, social action, multimedia social action gallery. So there's no surprises, and you can really get into all of these different domains. Okay, esoteric arts, let's just go there. And so each of them starts with a video. And here come the 4 courses. So astrological influences. So what can we learn from astrology that's going to show us more about ourselves? Aromatherapy, runes of engagement. So how can you use divination tools, and past life recall? So off you go. So pick a domain. Film and multimedia. What do you want to see next?
Film and multimedia sounds good.
Okay. And so now we all think in terms of video. People would rather watch a video than read. And here come the 3 courses. Filmmaking on the go, digital animation basics, the eye of the filmmaker. So just think, many people can shoot video, but turning the footage into a compelling short film is more challenging. In this course, students work in teams to direct and edit a video to make an engaging social statement, using storytelling to bring moving images to life, incorporating interviews, visual effects, sound effects, and music to enhance emotional impact. Learn film production to make a video demonstration or raise awareness of social issues, then post your work online. And so then students will have their own YouTube channels. Hopefully, if this is, they make quality material, it'll spread far and wide, then they can monetize their YouTube channel and actually get some income. from doing these things. So all of it is about standing on our own 2 feet, not waiting for somebody to give us a job, knowing how to have all these different skills. And so there's the technology skills, there's the personal development skills, there's the research and writing, there's the filmmaking. And so pretty much we all need this, but find me a university program that's going to incorporate all of this. Probably not going to happen, right?
No, absolutely not. This is fantastic. And, you know, this is so needed, because what I do find, you deal with a lot of people who get a mainstream media education as in media, as I did. I actually studied performing arts. And like you said, what you spoke about there, that education frustration, where I'm going, my mom has paid so much money for this, I'm learning nothing from you, you know? And what I found was everything that I needed to know, I actually had to teach myself, because we got nothing practical from our performance arts or drama course that we did in a tertiary level education.
Yep, that's right. I'm just inviting Lori to come on, who, if I may, she helped me build the system. And I've known her since 1973, when we met in the Department of Education, Faculty of Educational Psychology at the University of Alberta. And so, shall we keep going? So ecotourism, uncover your passion and sense of adventure through real and virtual excursions around the world. So here come the 3 courses. So the psychology of each eco-adventure. Because of our addiction to electronic devices, many of us have become disconnected from the natural world, and this disengagement has challenged our sense of identity. In this course, students identify and begin to confront fears and anxieties with regard to participating in nature experiences. They work with classmates to create mini adventures that engage a core of fear and then report back on their successes. These experiences can be significant and transformative, resulting in an enriched capacity for handling life. So all of this is about challenging ourselves and moving through what has stopped us in the past from being able to be self-fulfilled. Now, cross-disciplinary archaeology, that's the problem. We can't figure things out if it's only archaeologists from Egypt that ever get to do the digs, because we need to have geology, ethnography, how do I say that word? Ethnography, climatology, anthropology, archaeoacoustics, organic chemistry, archaeoastronomy, all of these things. I just got an echo. So, you know, all the people want to explore the mysteries of Egypt, but they may not feel comfortable coming to Egypt. So there's ways that we can do virtual tours and have people come. And so you can see how it goes on and on. I'm going to give you a chance to comment.
Hello.
Hello. Lori?
Hi, this is Lori. Yes.
Hi, Lori. Okay, so I've invited Lori to come in, and Lori has been, have you got a camera? Can you put your camera on? Is it possible to have Lori on camera?
How do I do that?
If Laura's called in on the number,
I phoned in.
Then it's not going to work on camera. She has to come in to the meeting on camera.
You have to come in through the link and put in the meeting ID.
Okay.
You want to do that?
Let's see. I come in through the United States link. 1415. There it is. Okay. I'm not quite sure how to come in through the link. But carry on. And
I've sent it to you here. Zoom us with a /J.
Yep.
And then the meeting ID is below 715.
Okay. So when I follow that, I just get a list of international numbers.
Yeah, and then there's a place to put the meeting ID. Just the number.
Conference number. Okay, I'm not seeing it. Sorry.
Okay. Well, anyway, Lori, we have you here. I'm just so proud of the work we've done and proud of you. Lori has been a family therapist for a long time, and she's a filmmaker in her own right. And as I said, we studied together at the University of Alberta all the way back in 1973. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and your involvement with Interactive Youth.
Okay, that's a tall order. Well, Terry and I just came to New York. We're staying in New York City now for the summer and working on a number of film projects. Let's see. The latest film project we did was a short documentary film about a farmer in Hawaii who's using aquaponics farming. And we're also here in New York working with, we're having meetings with some people from the Federation of Intentional Communities about the possibility of doing some video projects regarding intentional communities in the United States. And what else can I say? I've been really enjoying
Transforming Discipline.
Right. The other video series was Transforming Discipline, and it's a series, video training series for teachers about transforming discipline in the classroom, particularly at the elementary level. The feature film that Terry and I produced that's kind of made it around the country is called the Healthcare Movie, and that's a comparison of the Canadian healthcare system and the United States system, and how at one point they were exactly the same and now they're very different. It was only the 1950s when they were the same. So we really like making films and doing counseling by Skype. Terry specializes in couples and I specialize in parenting and especially behavior issues.
And Lori and Terry's two sons, Jeff and Jay Sterenberg, were the two that edited the Pyramid Code, which really contributed to it having that fast pace and all of that. So they've been making films since they were little kids, and they were able to borrow Lori's camera. So this is all a big happy family. And so you'll see that all of the course descriptions are about the same length, and there's parallel structure everywhere you look through all the faculties, and each of the courses has its own logo and all of that. And Lori and I built the whole system several times actually to make it work.
Yeah.
And so we did the collaborative writing using Google Drive and posting, and both being able to publish to the site back and forth. And so she's really been my right arm with that. And so I'm just really pleased to be able to introduce you, especially since you can just go to the Facebook page and watch it live. And I sent her a little, copy for you to get the numbers. And here you are. It's like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm so
it was
excited.
Unplanned.
I must just tell you, I'm so excited, ladies. This is really going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to all the ways in which Conscious Consumer Network can integrate with this and give you a platform for you to teach, reach out, and have an interactive learning experience. It just seems such a perfect synergy. We are so pleased to have this body of work and the two of you. And thank you, Laurie, for coming on at last minute. I'm just really pleased to have this body of work. This is exactly what we need. It's everything. It's such a nice filler in of basics, but it's so much more than basics. It's really fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
well,
Laurie.
it's indeed been a pleasure to work with Carmen to make her dream come to life on the computer screen. It's been really fun.
Well, can I just say, Dr. Carmen, what amazes me is that most people think of you as an Egyptologist, but you're actually an education specialist.
Oh, yeah. I've been building online curriculum for a long time.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Educational psychology, that's what we studied.
Goodness. Yeah, it's funny that I don't know why. For some reason that you were classified in the box as an Egyptologist to me, but I guess that's because you did the Pyramid Code. Everyone automatically thinks, pyramids, you must be an Egyptologist. Doctor. Not, but it's not that at all.
But the thing is, the ancient Egyptians had a cultural context that valued the sacred feminine in balance with the sacred masculine. They understood how to respect the ancient teachers, and they understood cosmology and biology. They were very, very sophisticated in everything, and we've dumbed them down to people who worship animals and who build pyramids for tombs, which isn't it at all. And so really, in some ways, I think that this style of doing education comes from other places, in terms of other times when there was a golden age and things were more fair and more values driven.
Yes, indeed. I mean, this isn't new. We're just re-knowing what I think we probably all at one stage knew. Or that's how this journey has felt to me for a very, very long time. And that's how I know we're doing something right. Because when you have no margin of measure in this lifetime, because everything is so perverse, you really have to rely on that inner alignment to know where to go. You know where you don't want to go. It's where knowing where to go that sometimes is a bit more challenging. And where do we draw from? And that's an inner knowing. That inner knowing is linked to so many, as you say, past lives. And part of my research as well has, I can't even so many examples I can give you of moments where it's the same thing. I'll be in a foreign city, but I know exactly where I'm going because I've been there before. And interesting that that we are finding this way now in which to bring this information from the past through in our existing paradigm.
Well, I think that's quite natural. And I also think that lots of millennials the kids who have just been born in this since the year 2000 are coming in with a lot of memory, and they're also coming in with a different set of values where they know that it's probably not right to eat meat and, slaughter animals. And, they just come in with they don't want to watch TV. They don't necessarily feel they need to own a house and a car. They're coming in, not aggressively, but seeking a better way to do things. And they insist, they're the ones that are, going to the vegan restaurants and all of that. And so I think that they deserve this kind of education and having a way that they can actually build on their own resources, fill the gaps in their own learning, have an individualized program that suits them, and then support and mentoring. So we really, all of the systems, as we know, the injustice system, the education system, all of it is it's just not working for people. And so this is my best shot at how to change it.
Well, a spectacular effort indeed. I look very well forward to climbing into some of this course material. So my next question, of course, is how do you plan to start, you're obviously here on Conscious Consumer Network, how do you plan to start teaching this course material going forward?
Oh, it's happening. We just started with a new cohort a couple of days ago. There's been a group in for 7 or 8 months. And so we're doing the live sessions. They're going in, doing the courses. And, it's kind of started out small just to see what people need and how it works. And of course, people get stuck in various different places. And some people are, catching on faster than others. You basically need a working computer and bandwidth that's big enough to be able to do this sort of thing. And from there, we'll help you learn the rest. So we do a little bit of an evaluation and ask people to disclose what they already know. If some people will be coming in that they already have academic writing skills, perhaps, maybe not as brushed up as they'd like. Some people won't have anything but a working computer. But the constructivism starts from where you are and moves you forward. And so some people will move faster than others, and that's got to be okay. And so sometimes people will have to repeat, certain courses, but we're in there. We're doing our weekly live sessions, and we invite others to join. Now, what I think will be important, if people register on the site, it's just basically giving us your email and coming up with a password so you can log in, but you won't have access to the courses until you register for a course. But we can start discussing with individuals what they want to build. Lots of people say, I've always wanted to write a book. I just didn't know how to go about it. And so I think that it's really important to have individualized programs where we're actually meeting the person. And so, and people will start to share, and we're already doing it. We're definitely involved. It's open. It's started.
That's wonderful. Meeting the people. That's so important because, traditional education is designed to create people who are supposed to fit into perfect little slots and jobs, not designed to enhance their greatest potential. And for me, that's the real, in a simple few words, real schism for me where education is concerned.
Yeah, and it may be a little bit of an uphill climb, because if you say to somebody, like, what's your passion, or what's your soul's purpose, they'll like, I don't know. It's like, but I think we have to know. Like, what else do you have to do in your whole life but to find out why you're here, and you know, what's important? And so I am actually a little bit, you know, shocked at how disconnected some people are, and you know, how distracted others are, you know, in terms of not being able to you know, stick with something. So we just have to start wherever people are, and that's the whole point of constructivism. You start where the person is, and they move as quickly as they can. Now, working in Taiwan, you know, the students, I mean, they were used to teachers standing at the front, the sage on the stage instead of the guide at the side, reading out of a book, and they'd put their heads down and fall asleep. And I'm like, whoa, you want to sleep? You got to go. And then, you know, I wanted them to stand up and speak English and do multimedia presentations. And at first they were just looking at me blankly. And I'd say, any questions or comments? And then I'd say, oh, that's right, I'm in Taiwan. Because in their view, if they asked a question, it meant the teacher wasn't teaching well. And so they just sat there and they didn't know what was going on, and they'd write the test. And at the end of 10 years, they still couldn't speak English. After 10 years of taking English, they couldn't order lunch or say their name or anything. They were terrified. And so once they started asking questions, it was just like an avalanche of questions coming out of all of them. And then all of a sudden they realized that they did know what was going on, and watch out, did they ever start producing. It was quite amazing. And of course, they'd always say English is really difficult, and they just didn't have the right headset around it. And so on the front page of the website, it was, every day my English gets better and better. And anytime anybody said it was difficult, somebody'd elbow them and say, every day your English gets better and better. So I had all these interactive exercises where they would do a lesson, and then they'd go into the interactive exercise with immediacy of feedback and get a score. And if they didn't get 100%, they'd go back into the lesson and kept going round and round and starting again. And they were like thinking this was impossible, really difficult constructs for them, because Chinese doesn't work in the same way as English works. And then, you know, none of them thought they were ever going to get 100. And one got 100. And then it started going around the lab. And the other thing, there were 60 kids in each of these classes. And so that was really quite something to manage. But so I put them into groups. But so as soon as one person got 100, they all started getting 100. It just went rippling through the whole lab. But the other part I found interesting, when the class was finished, they didn't want to leave, and the next class is lining up, looking through the window, trying to get in. They said, you got to go. It's our turn, you know. And then the parents started coming to class, to see me, and saying they really liked the website, and their English was getting better and better too, because the parents were using the tools.
Oh, that is phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. You know, I am so excited to get into this. I really am. Sure. I don't know where more to go with this, Dr. Carmen. Is there anything else you want to show us before we finish off?
No, I think that's fine. I'm working on other projects as well. The New Atlantis is the current project that I'm working on, and I've got an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign to help me finish it, because that's just how it has to happen. And so I invite people to go and see that. So the New Atlantis, we're just opening up a website on that. Some of you may want to see the Pyramid Code. It's on pay-per-view on Vimeo. And, you know, we'll keep going. We're going to have a show every week. And so I'll be bringing on some students. And my plan is to perhaps interview interviewers as well, who are the most informed about the situation that we're facing these days, and research in sacred sites and that sort of thing. So I'm excited about doing a weekly show, and featuring some of the work that the students have done and their interests and that sort of thing. And so I think we're off to a good start.
Excellent. Well, if you wouldn't mind, stop screen sharing so that I can say goodbye to everybody. There we go. Well, you know what? I'm looking forward to climbing into your material, and I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting time here, teaching, disseminating, interacting, and learning. And it's going to be very exciting. Thank you for joining our network, and for making use of the tools that we provide, and for giving us all the amazing material that you have done, and for just being you, Dr. Carmen.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, that is it from me, Mel V, here on Conscious Consumer Network for tonight. After this, what do we have next, Biggie?
Simran.
Yes, after this, we have Simran Singh with The Rebel Road. So please, guys, do not go anywhere. She'll be joining us on the next hour. And we have 2 shows from her tonight, back to back, one at the first hour, another on the second hour. Thank you, Simran, for being so kind and spoiling us with so much content. So please, guys, stay tuned. And of course, please do join our pledge campaign and contribute to Conscious Consumer Network. We cannot do this without you. This is a totally free, fair, and independent platform bringing you amazing people like Dr. Carmen Boulter, who are able to bring amazing content and educational content, which frees and empowers the mind and teaches you how to make decisions based on proper information so that we can all create a better world. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Until next week. Actually, I think I'll see you guys on Saturday night for Global Initiatives Review. I'll be doing Ubuntu. So that's when I'll be back. Don't go anywhere. If you really had to make a difference on a large scale with minimal resources, how would you go about it? Have you ever dared to dream of doing that which seems impossible? On a planet steeped with corruption and destruction, the question beckons, how do we change it? Media has a far-reaching impact on people and has been used to manipulate humanity into our current destructive patterns. In order to affect people into moving into constructive patterns of behavior, we need to construct a new paradigm of media. Conscious Consumer Network has been created with the explicit intention of giving the amazing truth-seeking, solutions-orientated, alternative media a place to fully realize their true potential with a cutting-edge, high-tech professional media platform. In turn, some of the greatest freedom-seeking hearts and souls of our time have realized the true potential of what has been created and have come together to provide their insight and inspiration on CCN. Conscious Consumer Network has become a unique, interactive information and educational network which provides a free-to-view, live-stream, ultra-high-definition channel to the world and features 25 live shows a week and growing with the addition of multiple language broadcasts. CCN has features comparable with mainstream media, such as being able to pause and rewind broadcasts whilst being live-streamed. Catch up on missed or previous broadcasts, now available from CCN high-definition downloads. You can now purchase a high-definition download of your favorite CCN show from ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a monthly pledger. This can be done with a monthly pledge of €10, which will allow you unlimited access to CCN's high-definition downloads, which hosts a back catalogue of over 250 shows, which have been aired since the launch of CCN on the 1st of January 2015. In order to keep CCN free of corporate sponsorship and advertising, CCN has launched the Pledge 300 campaign. This is a realistic goal with the hopes of securing a minimum of 300 people who will each pledge €10 a month. With this number, we can continue to grow and operate and potentially expand into a second foreign language channel. Help keep alternative media in the hands of the people. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.